Hello everyone, my name is Olivia, and today I wanted to walk you through 15 of my favorite movie posters. I have a Letterboxd account, which is essentially Goodreads for movies, where you can log movies that you've recently seen, you can add friends, you can see what they're currently watching, you can read movie reviews. It's a really cool app, and you can also create lists on your profile. So one list that I have on my profile are my favorite Letterboxd film posters. These are posters that are strictly on the Letterboxd app because I know a lot of movies have different editions of their movie posters, and this is going to be organized in rainbow order. So we're going to start with my first movie poster, which is a red one. So the first movie poster that I want to highlight is Jackie. This is a film following Jackie Kennedy after the death of John F. Kennedy, and this is following the aftermath, and it's really a deep dive into her mental health and how she is grieving the loss of her husband. So this movie poster, I think, captures the essence of the film so simplistically, but in a very bold way. It's a very bold red color that calls your attention, that mixes together with her outfit, somewhat as if she is trying to blend into the background of things. And I love the playful energy of this handwritten font. The font wraps around Jackie, and it somewhat feels like a boa constrictor is wrapping around her, and I think that's a very good metaphor for grief in a very minimalistic way. I think just having Jackie at the forefront of this poster and having that very thin font wrapping around her is a very artistic way to capture the essence of this movie. I'm not the biggest fan of the color red, but I do think that this also feels somewhat ominous and somewhat violent, and I think that that also captures the essence of this movie because we are dealing with the aftermath of Jackie watching her husband get assassinated. So I think the red color is exciting and it just draws your attention to it. They could have easily gone for a pastel pink that she wore the day that JFK was assassinated, but they went with a very bright red, and I like it. I appreciate it. So another movie poster that I greatly enjoy that is also very minimalistic is Amelie. The character is very eccentric and she just always stands out in a crowd, and I think that that bright yellow font really calls attention to who Amelie is while also being very subtle in a way. I also really enjoy the fact that we see her laying in bed surrounded by her favorite things, and that also really captures the essence of who Amelie is because we do spend a lot of time with her in her apartment. And I forgot to say what this movie was about. Amelie is basically about a woman named Amelie who lives in France, and she is just very quirky and cute and quiet, and she kind of lives in her own world, and it's a very sweet French movie that I would highly recommend if you have not seen it before. And I think that this movie poster is somewhat subtle in capturing the essence of Amelie, but it's also enough to intrigue you because I think it's very bold to have a movie title be the name of the character, because that's when you know that we're going to focus solely on this character. So I think that's what Amelie does with this poster. I feel like we could have had hints of more French elements in the background of this poster, but I also just really like how simplistic it is. So the next movie is the only movie on this list that I have not seen before, so I can't really comment on the movie itself in terms of its connection to the movie poster, but I really enjoy the poster for Little Miss Sunshine. Little Miss Sunshine is a simplistic poster that just really captures your eye with this yellow that just speaks to my soul, and I also love the van that also matches the background, somewhat similar to Jackie matching the background of her movie poster. I love how they don't take up a lot of space in this poster and they just kind of let it breathe and let the background speak for itself. So I don't know. This one really calls to me. The next movie poster that I have to show you is very subtle in its graphic design elements, that isn't too flashy and isn't trying to flex on anything, but it just does what it has to do, and it is Enemy. On Letterboxd, they say that Enemy is about a mild-mannered college professor who discovers a look-alike actor and delves into the other man's private affairs. So it's about a man who becomes obsessed with someone who looks exactly like him and tries to somewhat overtake his life in a way. So something that I greatly appreciate if you have seen the movie Enemy is the beige hue to it. The color grading of this film is muted and beige, and this captures the essence of that perfectly in the movie poster. And I also love how they put the city into the head of Jake Gyllenhaal, because the city plays a large role in this movie, and you can see the subtle spider in the background of the city, and that kind of leaves you wondering, like, what is this movie about? I just think that they capture the energy of Enemy very well in this movie poster, especially with the color grading, because it matches the color grading of the film flawlessly. Not my absolute favorite movie poster, but it's enough to like call my attention and be like, yes, that's exactly what the movie's about. The next movie poster that I have to show you is actually a movie that I have not seen, but I have read the book, so I know some information about it, and it is Never Let Me Go. Never Let Me Go's movie poster is very 2010s Tumblr. It just really calls to me in that way. It doesn't do as much as the other posters I've spoken about. It doesn't really capture my attention as much, but I feel like if you were in that era of Tumblr and you remember those types of photos where they're just like somewhat mysterious, the people aren't really facing the camera, it's very romanticized, I feel like that's what Never Let Me Go feels like. Never Let Me Go has this nostalgic factor to the poster, and it just reminds me of Tumblr. It reminds me of that time when you're a teenager where you romanticize every aspect of your life, and I think that that really captures the essence of the movie as well, because Never Let Me Go follows a group of teenagers in this very weird facility, and the nostalgic factor is really there in a simplistic way that I can appreciate, and it just feels like a captured moment in someone's life they're always going to remember. So that's what Never Let Me Go feels like for me. So the next movie poster that I have to show you is for Inside Llewyn Davis. Inside Llewyn Davis follows our main character, Llewyn Davis, who is a singer who is grieving the loss of his bandmate, and he is trying to make it as a singer solo. So this movie deals a lot with music and trying to make a name for yourself as an artist and going to a lot of different areas to sing and hopefully get noticed by others. This movie poster feels like one of those posters that you would see outside of a concert hall that would tell you when the artist is singing. I think that it just really matches the tone of the movie. It is muted and it kind of has like a very soft layer over it where everything feels fuzzy in a way. So I think that this muted movie poster that doesn't have a lot of saturation to it matches the gloominess of Inside Llewyn Davis, because Inside Llewyn Davis deals a lot with depression and just feeling very down about yourself as an artist, and I think that this muted tone to the poster matches the story beautifully. The next movie poster that I have to show you is for And Then There Were None. This is actually a 3-part show that runs like 3 hours long, so you can call it like a TV show or a movie. I don't know, it's on Letterboxd, so therefore I can talk about it. This movie poster is very minimalistic as well. It is very simple. It tells you what it needs to tell you. It is about 10 people who go to an island, and one by one they are being killed off. I love the ominous tone of having a ton of people on a little boat. It makes you wonder, where are they going? Are they escaping somewhere? And they all have very serious looks to their faces. So it lets you know that this movie is mysterious. Something is brewing beneath the surface, and maybe the ocean will play a big part in this movie as well. I think for this TV/movie adaptation, they could have also utilized the 10 statues that are very prominent in the story. I think that if they did a movie poster about those 10 statues being broken or fallen over, would have been very cool. It would have been mysterious. But I also think that this poster does what it has to do. I also really enjoy the fact that the top half of the poster doesn't have a lot going on. It makes you focus on the lower half because the lower half is darker. It has all the characters and it makes you focus more on them than the actual title. The next movie poster also has to deal a lot with the ocean, and it is a classic one, and it is Jaws. The Jaws movie poster ignites anxiety in everyone. Everyone is afraid of sharks. Everyone is afraid of the idea of swimming in the ocean and having something lurking beneath the surface ready to bite you. The font is a bright red, hinting towards the blood that will be shed once the shark finally eats the woman in the poster. I love having the character swim along the line of the ocean in this poster. I think that is so well done. I think that having the ocean on the bottom half and just stark white on the top really calls your attention to the lower half, and I think whoever designed this poster is absolutely fantastic. And I think that this poster, if you were to ever study movie posters, would be a poster in a textbook because it is so straight to the point and it does it in such a flawless way that I just cannot think of anything that would improve it. It makes me very anxious to even look at it because I do not like the ocean because I am just terrified of the creatures lurking underneath, and I think that that poster really calls towards that anxiety that a lot of people have when thinking of the ocean, because you can be swimming on the surface of it but you have no idea what's below, and that is something that can be below you, and that is terrifying. The next movie poster that also deals with the ocean is for a movie called Waves. This is a movie following a family before, during, and after a tragedy, so it follows them as they are close-knit, they fall apart and fall together, somewhat as if they come and go in waves. The poster for Waves carries a lot of elements from the movie itself, like the ocean in the background because they do live by the ocean, and then we have the two characters hugging on top of a picnic bench, which is directly taken from a scene from the film itself. And I really enjoy the fact that they photoshopped the picnic bench so it looks like it's in the ocean, and it looks like they are just floating on top of the ocean and trying to stay above the surface, because that really captures what it's like to be in this film. The next movie poster that I have to show you is a classic one, and it is for The Lion King. There are many posters for The Lion King, but this is a particular one that is on Letterboxd, and I absolutely love it. I love how it feels somewhat religious with the sunbeams coming down onto Simba, and we see Mufasa in the sky, and it feels like a Renaissance painting but with the lions. For this movie poster in particular, we are drawn more towards the sky rather than the bottom of the poster because we are looking straight at Mufasa's face and he's looking straight back at us. I feel like if you were to look at this poster and not know anything about The Lion King beforehand, you would be immediately interested by it because you would be wondering why these lions are at the top of this rock, why are these animals all looking up towards this particular lion, why is there one in the sky? There are so many elements that build up intrigue for this movie, and because this movie is such a classic, it feels very nostalgic as well. It has the nostalgic Disney factor. Another Disney movie poster that I had to highlight is Ratatouille, particularly this poster for Ratatouille. I think it is comedic, I think it is interesting, I think it is just so well done. I love how the knives outline the shape of Remy. I love how Remy is reaching towards a cheese, so you know that he's in a kitchen and he's in a very dangerous setting, and makes you wonder what's going to happen next if you have never heard of Ratatouille before. This one's not as minimalistic as all the other posters that I've shown before in this video, but it fits the energy of Ratatouille and it makes you want to know more if you have never heard of it before. The next movie poster that I have to show you is Vivre sa vie, and this is a French movie that I greatly enjoyed that I think everyone should watch. I think it is just done so beautifully. The text overtakes both the bottom and the top of the poster, and in the middle we have our main character, which is a scene from the movie, and she's looking off at something off the poster, and we get just a glimpse at the side of her face. So it creates this very mysterious atmosphere around this character, and it makes you wonder, what is she doing? Why is she in this situation? And you want to learn a little bit more about her. I love the blunt cut of her bob. I love how we don't get a full look at her face. I just love how it is just so simplistic but so eye-catching in a way, and it feels so beautifully French, because when Americans think of French women, we think of that beautiful bob that a lot of them wear, and I think that this poster captures the beauty of French cinema. The next movie poster is somewhat similar to Vivre sa vie, but it is Get Out. Get Out has such a wonderful movie poster. I love how we only look at the middle of the poster because we have his eyes and then we have the title. You're just focused on the absolute fear in his eyes, and then we look at the title that says Get Out. And I think that this movie poster is a perfect horror movie poster, because a lot of horror movie posters tend to focus on the villain, but we are focused on the main character and his fear in his eyes. And I also really enjoy the fact that Jordan Peele made this this black and white, even though this movie is not a black and white movie. I think that the stark contrast between the white blocks and his eyes and then the text just really makes it stand out. If it were to be in color, it wouldn't have the same effect. So the black and white aspect to this poster also really speaks to the plot of the movie itself. So I think that this is just so well done. It is very minimalistic. There's not a lot going on in this poster, but it tells what it needs to tell. And it makes you intrigued. It makes you wonder what's going to happen next. It makes you wonder how this character got in this situation. And I just think that Get Out has one of the best movie posters of all time. The next poster that I have to show you is for Spencer. Spencer is a beautifully filmed movie following Princess Diana as she is on the verge of having a mental breakdown. So we follow her in this palace as she is forced to dress up in these very fine outfits, and she's meant to put up a facade of niceties in front of other people, but in reality she's falling apart. So I think that this poster really captures what Princess Diana was going through in that movie. We see Princess Diana in a stunning ball gown that feels like something a Disney princess character would wear, but rather than her looking happy or even looking at the camera, she is collapsed on the ground and she is hiding her face away, somewhat as if she's hiding her face away from the paparazzi, and she's hiding her face away from the palace itself, and she is just giving up. You can see the defeat in her posture juxtaposed with the beautiful finery that she is wearing. I also really enjoy the fact that Spencer is just so subtle at the bottom of the poster. The text blends into the fabric of the dress and we are just focused on Princess Diana. I think this is a beautiful poster, and I think it really matches the overall tone of the story, especially with the black background, because it makes her feel like she is completely alone and she is just surrounded by darkness, and I think this poster is just absolutely phenomenal. The last poster that I want to highlight is from the movie Cold War. This is a Polish film about two star-crossed lovers during the Cold War. I really enjoy this movie poster. It is romantic. It captures a moment in this couple's life as they are just enthralled with each other. They are in ecstasy and they are just focused solely on each other due to this black background that makes it feel like the world has faded away and they are the only two people in this universe. And I also really enjoy the subtle touch of the militarized font at the bottom, because they are in the middle of the Cold War, so while they are focused on their romance, at the back of their mind, they're always thinking about the Cold War. So it has that subtle hint of the Cold War through the text, but we are mostly focused around these two characters who are greatly in love with each other. And I think that the aesthetic of this poster could not be achieved if it wasn't in black and white, because I think if it were to be in color, there would be a lot going on in the background. I think that the blurred background really would still stand out against the character. So because this is in black and white, they are able to darken the background and they're able to focus solely on the characters' faces as they are leaning against one another. And I think that this movie poster really encompasses what this movie is about in a very minimalistic way that I clearly greatly enjoy. So those are some of my favorite movie posters that are featured on Letterboxd. Of course, there are a ton of movie posters and variations for different movies all across the world, all across the internet. There are international movie posters for certain films that are different from their domestic film posters. So there are so many different posters that one can talk about, but I wanted to focus on the ones that are on Letterboxd for films that I have seen, minus the fact that I have not seen like 2 films from this list. But I just wanted to share this with you to discuss some of my favorite movie posters, to kind of delve deeper into the meaning behind them. And I think that this video idea is very cool because I have not seen a lot of it on YouTube. So if you are thinking of doing this yourself, if you want to talk about some of your favorite movie posters or maybe even some of your favorite book covers, I think that this video idea would be really cool because it is just fun to be able to gush about some of your favorite pieces of art that encompass another piece of art that you greatly enjoy, because movie posters and book covers are a piece of art in itself, but they also have to capture what the story is about in a very simplistic way that can come across to people who have either seen the movie or people who are completely new to it. So it has to appeal to both audiences, and I think that can be very difficult. But I really enjoy minimalistic posters. I love when they are able to tell a story with not a lot of elements into their posters, and I just think that they're just so much more pleasing to look at than something that is busy, that has a lot of things in the background. So be sure to put some of your favorite movie posters down below and try and find a trend in your favorite movie posters. posters. Do you like busy movie posters? Do you like movie posters that solely focus on the text? Do you like minimalistic movie posters like me? I would love to discuss what you're particularly drawn to when it comes to movie posters. And if you want to follow me on Letterboxd to get some very funny movie reviews as well as movie recommendations, I'll be sure to link that down below. And if you want to follow me anywhere else on social media, I am trying to post more movie reviews over on my Instagram, so if you want to follow me there, that would be great. And thank you so much for watching this video. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, and let me know if you enjoyed this video concept. I would love to make more movie content in the future because it really brings a lot of joy into my life, and I always love sharing movie recommendations as well. So I will see you in another video very soon, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!